Okay, so this one is going to be good. We're diving deep into the story of Gary Charles.
Yeah, this one's a really something.
You guys requested it, wanted to know more about this footballer, Gary Charles, and let me tell you, it's quite the journey.
It really is.
We're
I thought,
talking crazy highs, some real
yeah,
lows,
right.
and everything in between.
It's a wild ride.
It is. So picture this. England, late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Football is life.
All right.
It's practically a religion. And right in the thick of it all, you've got this young, insanely talented footballer named Gary Charles.
Now, you got to remember, this isn't just any old period in English football.
Right.
This is when clubs like Nottingham Forest, where Charles starts out, are like massive.
Oh, yeah. Forest back then,
Huge.
they were the rock stars.
Oh.
Multiple European Cup wins, a style of play that had everyone talking.
And the pressure.
Oh, intense.
Imagine the weight on a young lad's shoulders. To break into that level as a right back?
I mean, right back, basically, you're defending against the guys who are constantly trying to score goals.
Exactly. It shows you how naturally gifted this guy Charles was.
Absolutely.
But even with all that talent, it's the 1991 FA Cup final that really kind of puts him on the map, but for a complicated reason.
Okay, so everyone listening who knows their football, you already know where I'm going with this. You got to talk about Gaza.
Gaza's
Paul Gascoigne, an icon,
legend.
like England's Maradona.
And in that 91 final, Gaza makes this now infamous tackle on Charles. It was a wild, reckless play.
Oh, yeah.
And it ended up ruining Gaza's knee. He was never really the same player after that.
Tragic. Really was.
But what's so interesting is how that incident, even though Charles wasn't the one injured, it still kind of cast a shadow on his career. You know, it's like this weird footnote that follows him around.
Almost Shakespearean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Two careers forever linked by this one split-second event.
It really is.
But even with that hanging over him, Charles earns England caps.
Which, for anyone who may not be total football fanatics, means he gets to represent his country on the national team.
A huge deal. Absolutely massive. So you've got Charles, this young lad who's fought his way up through a legendary club system, now playing on the international stage. He goes on to play with Derby County and Aston Villa, both top-tier teams. I mean, his career's on fire. But, and there's always a but, right?
Always a but.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
We talked about that pressure of playing for a club like Forest. But can you imagine living up to that England shirt?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other level.
Whole other world.
And then on top of that, you've got the Gaza incident kind of always in the background. I mean, how do you even process all that?
It's a lot to carry, especially for, like you were saying, a young guy navigating that world. Professional football's tough.
Oh, yeah.
And you add all that pressure on top of the challenges that come after a playing career ends, it's a recipe for a perfect storm.
Because let's be real, that transition out of pro sport, it's rough. You go from this like all-consuming life, this intense focus and dedication to the game, to suddenly it's over.
Yeah, and then what?
Right? What do you do with yourself? Who are you even outside of all that?
It's a huge identity shift. It really is. And sadly, a lot of athletes really struggle with it.
They do.
In Charles's case, he ends up turning to alcohol to cope.
Yeah.
A way to numb the pain, the confusion, that sense of loss.
And the sources we looked at, they don't sugarcoat it.
No, they don't.
Multiple arrests for drunk driving. There's even that incident where he gets an electronic tag removed so he can go on holiday.
Oh, yeah.
It just, I don't know, it paints this picture of a guy just trying to outrun something, you know?
Yeah, trying to escape something. And the sad thing is, even with that very public warning he got from the judge, after the assault charge, you know, you think that'd be a wake-up call, but it just didn't seem to stick.
Almost like it wasn't enough to really make him face whatever it was he was trying to run from.
Yeah, it's like that with rock bottom sometimes. You got to hit it hard before you can even start to think about climbing back up. And unfortunately with Charles, that's exactly what happens next.
2012. This is where things take a real turn, right?
Yeah.
The incident outside that nightclub, it ultimately leads to this 12-month prison sentence.
Right.
You almost think that's it, you know?
Okay.
Another story of fame gone wrong. But, and this is what gets me, Gary Charles, he's a fighter.
He really is.
He's got this resilience, this like inner strength that maybe even he didn't realize he had.
Yeah, yeah.
And prison, in a way, it forces him to face it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Face those demons head on.
There's no escaping anything in there, is there?
Not at all. And what's amazing is he gets out and he immediately seeks help, right?
Yeah.
For his alcohol addiction.
Yeah.
That takes guts to admit you need help.
Yeah.
That's not weakness, that's strength.
Absolutely. It really is. And then what he does after that, that's what's really inspiring to me. He takes all that he's been through, uses it to help other athletes who are going through similar struggles. It's like he's taken all that pain and turned it into, I don't know, a purpose.
And the impact he must have. I mean, this is a guy who's lived it, right? The highest highs, the lowest lows, and now he's reaching out, offering guidance. It's incredibly powerful. And it just goes to show, if he can turn things around, well, there's hope for anyone.
It's a testament to that, isn't it? Redemption, second chances, they're possible. It's never going to be easy, but it's always worth fighting for. I think what Gary Charles' story really highlights is that behind all the headlines, all the trophies, all the fame, we're all just human at the end of the day. And sometimes those humans need a helping hand.
What a story. We started with him just a young lad on the pitch of the city ground, and we end with a guy rebuilding his life. It's a good reminder that it's never too late to change your story. Who knows what incredible chapters he'll write next. Thanks for joining us on this one. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah.